Alrighty, welcome everyone to lesson 64. Uh, that's a lot of lessons. And for some of you, it's like lesson 150. But generally speaking, today we're going to talk about argument analysis. We're going to write a live argument analysis, or at least a big chunk of it together. We're going to look through this transcript. It's got image stimuli and so on and so on. Together, it's called Screens Affecting Sleep. Argument analysis is a third of your VCE study score on the exam. It's a big portion of what you need to do well and get a good ATAR, which is why I like to emphasize it, of course, as we constantly work through each of the three sections on the exam over and over again. And yeah, we're going to do our best. We're going to see how this goes. All right, so um, I want to read through this text together. Has everybody requested the notes? I've also put the notes link into the Discord. There we go. Alana's also done that. They're also in chat. And in case you haven't seen them in chat, I'm going to repaste them in chat. I want to give you guys 5 minutes or so, or like, this doesn't need any more than 3 to 4-ish minutes. I'm going to give you 4 minutes to read through this argument analysis text. And I just want you to understand who's talking, why they're talking, what the whole point of it is, what they're trying to persuade you into, okay? Your time starts now. There you go. Just 4 minutes. I'm here. I want you guys to find some exposure to it, and then I'm going to talk through it and point out everything poignant. I'm going to mute myself. Get to reading it. You have access to the notes yourselves. Please click the link in chat and request access. Your time is running. Alrighty, that's time. Now, I want you guys to give me some ideas. What can you see in this text that could be persuasive at all, in any way, shape, or form? What do you see in this text that could, in any way, shape, or form, be persuasive? Give me some ideas. I'll give you a, yeah, beautiful. I've got rhetorical questions. I've got lots of exaggerations. I've got emotive language. Well done. Good, good, good. I've got glowing in your hand, which shows we are also to blame. Inclusive language, exaggeration, the rule of three. Well done. Statistics to support the anecdotes. Stats. Yes, absolutely. What else? These are great ideas. Keep going. Right? Figurative devices, metaphors and wordplay. Correct, Alana. Right? And analogies, comparing it to smoking or drinking alcohol. They also target the parents. Absolutely. There's a relatability factor. Yes, well done. There's an authoritative tone that shifts from really urgent to suddenly empathetic. Absolutely. Right? They appeal to fear, responsibility. They appeal to emotion, that family imagery, the metaphors of loss and insisting on the idea, absolutely using short, sharp sentences for emphasis and impact on the audience. Absolutely. Well done. Really, really, really well done. The quote unquote sleepwalk into crisis or patterns create futures or that type of that idea they're trying to communicate. The appeal to patriotism, looking at Australia, preserving our national dignity and strength and discipline. Yes. Yes, 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 absolutely. These are beautiful, beautiful ideas. Fantastic. Right? Now, let me actually sample writing time, first of all. Let's note some of these down, right? So, we said appeal to emotion. We said inclusive language. We said statistics. We said, even appeal to patriotism almost. Sure, they have a bit of a slippery slope unless we act the future we are creating as one of exhaustion and decline, right? Slippery slope argument. Beautiful, fantastic, right? Rhetorical questions, right? Beautiful, authoritative, this authoritative tone of strength, right? Which shifts from urgency to empathy, right? Absolutely. Um, I've got what does slippery slope argument mean? Great question, Ruthik. Ruthik, if you started smoking weed and I said to you, hey mate, if you keep smoking weed, soon you might be doing heroin. There's not a direct logical correlation there, is it? But it's like it's a slippery slope. It's like if we step 1 foot forward, right, suddenly everything could collapse and you could fall into absolute oblivion, right? So it's like if our kids use their phones a little, our society could collapse. It's like giving an outcome that is so disastrous in comparison. It's like you're slowly falling, oh no, and then you suddenly give them an argument that is quite far out in the distance, but you make it feel like it's a real risk right now to descend that fast into such madness. Does that make sense? Right? So it's let me cook all my days. What just came out of my mouth? Yeah, yeah, good. That's good. So yeah, that's a slippery slope argument. Yes, that authoritative tone, absolutely. Figurative language, right? And metaphors, right? Analogy, right? The analogy, to smoking or alcohol type stuff or drugs even, for example. And I've got appeal to family, appeal to family. We value family, right? Appeal to fear. Yes, hell yeah, fear and responsibility. Fear and responsibility, right? Good, good. These are really good. This is what we're looking for, right? Statistics which appeals to logic as well. So these key ideas, these dot points, are very common tropes or tactics used by people when attempting to persuade. Okay? So if we get real comfortable using slash analyzing these ideas, we win. Okay, we win. Um, Now, let me get into some writing, and I want you to see how I navigate these ideas, okay? Just want you to watch me write, and I want you to think about what I'm saying, what I'm doing, and how I look at it. Remember, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want you guys to passively absorb the way that I think and the way that I write, and then over time, based on the foundation and the structure that I build for you, weave in your own style, creativity, and ideas, okay? So, in her opinion piece, I'm going to see who wrote it, right? Well, actually, let me say, let's get to writing here. In her opinion piece, Laura Mitchell, 3rd of February 2025 in The Age, and it's called Screens Are Stealing Our Sleep. Oh my God. And look at this kid. Oh no. And it's a red light. Oh my God. Right? And I've just got a question in chat. How do you know it's a girl? That is a great question. I'm going to assume, statistically speaking, I'm going to say, what percentage of Lauras in the world are female? Let's see. About 99.4%. You know what? I'm willing to take that risk. I'm willing to take that risk. Call it a day. I'm willing to take that risk. Um, Now, that look, I understand. Anyhow, so in her opinion piece, and I'm gonna say the name, right? Screens are stealing our sleep. Okay? Which is published on the 3rd of August. I'll even say it like this, published on the 3rd of August, 2025. Laura Mitchell urgently contends that excessive screen use, particularly among teenagers, okay, is fueling a national sleep crisis, okay? A national sleep crisis with dire consequences for health and well-being, right? She directs her argument, okay? She directs her argument towards Australian parents, rather young people, and the federal government. Why? Because our federal government are the lawmakers. So notice how I start by saying, what is the article? It's an opinion piece. When was it published? What's it called? Who's it targeting? Who wants to read it? What's it about? Health and well-being. It's about a sleep crisis. Oh no, we're all gonna die, right? It's a pretty big deal. If we don't fix our screen usage, fuck man, we might as well all die. That's basically what she's saying. Let's expand on that. So, young people in the federal government, which also, in a way, appeals to a collective sense of responsibility, right? Collective sense of responsibility. And why is that? To regulate technology use. Okay. Now, accompanied by a confronting image of a teenager illuminated, right? Teenager illuminated by the glow of a phone at 1:30 a.m. Glow of a phone, let's say at 1:30 a.m. Um, Mitchell adopts a concerned yet pragmatic tone to persuade readers, okay? Pragmatic tone to persuade readers that inaction risks severe long-term harm, okay? Severe long-term harm. Now, you see how this is my intro. This is what we're going to start with. This is the bulk of what I want to say and talk about, okay? Opinion piece, that's what it's called. This is when it was published. This is what it's about. This is who it's about. And this is the topic of discussion and why it's a crisis and why it's important. This is exactly who it's directed to and why it's directed to them and how it affects these people. I'm assuming that it's at 1:30 a.m., right? A lot of the time actually they would give you some metadata here, and they might even give you like a verbal description of the image, right? In case a student is blind or has impairments, they might say an image of a child lying in bed with an illuminated red screen at 1:30 a.m. No, the image isn't AI generated. Look, I searched up child lying in bed with illuminated phone or something like that. Here. When you click it, hold on, and I said red, it's you click this, you scroll. That's the one. There you go. That's how I found it. These don't, I mean, are these AI generated? I couldn't tell. I think that's AI generated. Wow, the stock image industry is absolutely dead now because of AI generation. Stock images are absolutely worthless, right? An image of a child lying in bed with an illuminated screen at 1:30 a.m., right? Um, image of a child lying in bed, distressed, and I'll say visibly distressed, 1:30 a.m., right? Um, and I did write it. Yes, that's true, Priscilla. I wrote this whole persuasive text. Now, if they don't do a caption, would it be fine to assume the time? Don't assume the time. I just forgot to add a caption. That is my problem. But they would normally have some form of caption, and if they don't tell them a time. That's fine. Regardless, okay? Now, let's start by actually going through these ideas one by one. So I like doing this almost chronologically, right? So how does Mitchell begin? Mitchell begins by positioning, let's say, um, we want to position our audience to see technology as negative, okay? Positioning readers to perceive technology as overtly threatening to holistic health, okay? Declaring that devices are quote unquote robbing us of the very thing, okay? The very thing we need most, which is rest, right? Now, the metaphor of the theft, of rather this theft of our juice, our petrol in life, which is sleep as humans, what does it do? Instills fear, right? And casts technology as a harmful intruder in daily life, okay? And by referring to the ability to quote unquote contact anyone, anywhere, at any time, right? She highlights the irony almost that devices intended for things like connection instead of disconnection, right, have actually ended up unnaturally isolating us. Okay? Now, such a contrast, such a juxtaposition. What does it do? Now, look at the words I'm using. Juxtaposition. Um, overtly threatening even, right? Holistic, right? Um, what else have I said that's somewhat sophisticated? Fueling, dire consequences, um, illuminated, pragmatic tone, okay, contends, urgently contends that excessive, um, collective sense of responsibility. These little pink moments, this is what gets you over the line, okay? Um, this is the type of writing that really pushes you over the line, okay? And I've got, do we just do a body paragraph for the writing or do we also do an intro? I want you to just do a body paragraph, okay? Um, Now, let's keep going. So, such a juxtaposition provokes readers. And what does it provoke readers to do? Right, it provokes readers to question the supposed benefits, okay? The supposed benefits of technology, okay? And primes them to almost accept her argument, to almost accept her argument that urgent change is needed. Now look at that. Primes them, or provokes even, right? Or casts technology as a harmful intruder, right? So again, reading sophisticated writing is an almost osmotic way to absorb and then replicate sophisticated writing. And osmotic, like as osmotic, like it needs to enter your zeitgeist, your mainframe, the way that you communicate and utilize different lexemes needs to see significant change in metamorphosis, right? Use me as a point of inspiration. I want you to try and use the words that I use, right? In almost passive day-to-day communication, even. So let's keep going. Now, Mitchell, what does she do next, right? Mitchell strengthens her position, right? But how? Through appeals to logic and authority. Let's bring in an example. The statistic. Where is it? Let's find the statistic. Where am I? 4 in 10. I'm looking at for the 4 in 10 example. Uh, hold on. Oh, oh no, it's not letting me search. What's happening to my? That's okay. The statistic, right, that 4 in 10 teenagers are regularly sacrificing, right? Regularly sacrifice their sleep, hours of sleep, which is quite precious, right? Again, it's a sensitive topic, right? Is immediately followed by what? How is it immediately followed? By a list of these medical conditions like depression, like cardiovascular disease, by a list of medical professions, not professions, diseases like depression and cardiovascular disease. Given the intimate nature of sleep, guys, we spend a third of our life sleeping, and the fact humans are meant to spend approximately a third of their lives sleeping, right? Mitchell like really almost exploits the the kind of the this irremovable connection between humans and sleep. Exploits the I've said the intimate nature, but rather the inescapable necessity of sleep, um, to connect it, linking it to long-term prosperity. Let's put it that way. Okay. Now, again, let's have a look here. Strengths of position, logic and authority, of course, but I want to look at that sophistication. So, given the intimate nature of sleep, right, exploits the inescapable necessity, right, long-term prosperity. I want you guys to be writing like this. I want you to be using phrases like this, okay? And so this cause and effect reasoning, she's almost blaming all of these illnesses on the lack of sleep, right? This cause and effect reasoning, what does it do? It portrays sleep, or rather sleep deprivation, as what? As an undeniable health crisis, as something we just cannot ignore. And I'll even extend that as rather than a trivial concern, rather than a trivial concern. Her assertion that to call it anything less than a national health emergency, right, would be irresponsible, right? What does that do? It appeals to readers' sense of one, civic duty. Two, it almost makes the dismissal of this issue seem really negligent, right? Appeals to their sense of um, that collective responsibility, that civic duty, right? Making dismissal absolutely wrongful or dismissal of the issue seem highly negligent, okay? Highly negligent. Again, highly negligent. Dismissal, sense of civic duty, trivial concern, deprivation, undeniable, or even cause and effect. What do you guys notice about this writing? What does it inform you about? How do you need to transform your writing to be able to transition and write like this? Tell me, guys, what do you notice? What is the difference between my writing and your writing? Talk to me. Help me here. Tell me. Better vocab, absolutely. Vocabulary use, vocabulary, absolutely. Better vocab and flow, absolutely. What else? Um, yeah, I understand. Okay, but anything else, guys, apart from flow and vocab? Yeah, there's a nuanced outlook. Correct. So I want you to notice that. Look at this, right? Really, I want you to keep these phrases in mind. And there's a particular sandwich structure where the quotes are included with concise analysis. So the gist of any type of English writing, okay, is introduce an example, analyze it by telling me why it's important and what it means slash who it affects, right? Constant back and forth, right? And the prerequisite to successful English writing and analysis is lots of empathy, lots of emotional intelligence, lots of psychological awareness, which all culminate to give you the ability to step into the shoes of others and really grasp their stance. If you can step into the shoes of both the author and the audience, okay, and think, what does she want? What does the audience want? What does she care about? What does the audience care about, right? Care about. Guys, and listen, and really viscerally outline this, which, by the way, writing becomes fun when it's that empathetic. You score fantastically well. Full stop. Okay, so um, I want you guys to continue writing an argument analysis on this piece, right? Um, Now, I mean, for those of you that think writing isn't fun, I think that you haven't practiced enough to be good enough at writing, because if you're good enough at it, I promise you it's fun. That's what people say when they're not good at something. Things that aren't fun in life, a lot of the times are things that people aren't good at. And a lot of the times that's because they don't practice enough, truth be told. I just want body paragraphs. I just want body paragraphs and analysis of manipulation, persuasion techniques with immense empathetic psychological awareness and emotional intelligence displayed. Okay? Just give me example, analysis, example, analysis, and keep going, so on and so on. I'm going to give you 17 minutes. I want you to submit it into this form. I would love if you guys did an image analysis. I've just sent the submission form. Um, now, yeah, I've just sent the submission form into chat. Um, I'm going to start the 17-minute timer. Click that submission form, that link in chat, and get to writing. If you want to write it on a Google Doc and then submit it into here, go for it. But go for your life. You've all got access to the notes. Absolutely, I can approve your request. There we go. Keep going. You've got a bunch of ideas here. Explore these ideas. Explore these ideas. Your time is running. Give me your best subsection of writing. Audio, please really try hard. I want to see you try hard. You guys have about a minute to go. Or sorry, about 30 seconds. Start to wrap it up. I want to get a feel for the way that you're thinking and the way that you're writing. And it is interesting to me to see what you can produce in 15, 16, 17 minutes. Um, I can add 2 minutes, don't worry. I'll extend you by 2 minutes. You guys have 2 minutes more, don't worry. Alrighty, slowly start to wrap up. That's about 20 minutes of time. It's about a third or slightly over a third of the time you'd have in the real exam on the day. Of course, it's a bit early, but submit away and let's see how you guys are thinking and how you guys are writing. Um, I'm just going to scroll down in the master spreadsheet. That's your time, by the way. Submit through. Let me see your writing and what you've got. Okay. Uh, wow, that's a chunky piece. Who's row 812? Well done. Who submitted straight away? You were also first. Whose piece is that? See who else. Well done. Oh, let's see. Now, the beauty of this bit is, or this section of the lesson is, one, you can see how everyone around you is writing, but you can take ideas from one another as well. So a lot of what we do in English and what you're going to have to write on the exam is like crowdsourced knowledge, right? Because in order to be able to compete with the majority of Victoria, you have to know what the majority of Victoria are writing so that you don't miss angles that you never would have thought of, that other students might have thought of, which is why I value this bit. And I want you guys to look at each other's writing and also look at common pitfalls and mistakes that none of you are immune from. All right, so now let's look at the very talented Ovin's piece. I'm very excited to read her piece. She also doesn't come very often, but on the week that she's here, let's have a look. Laura Mitchell's Screens Are Stealing Our Sleep employs the use of various persuasive techniques in order to urgently present her contention on the impact of technology, particularly on young people. Throughout the piece, Mitchell appeals to the audience through all three modes of persuasion: ethos, pathos, and logos. Immediately, her use of statistics and evidence that directly follows her clear initial contention gives validity to her claim. Not only that, but immediately backing up her opinion with data allows her to gain the reader's trust and attention. 4 in 10 teenagers regularly sacrifice hours of sleep just to scroll endlessly through their feeds. This statement serves multiple purposes in the context of her writing. Through her use of language, Mitchell has succeeded in portraying. Okay, now, whenever you guys want to talk about an author's purposes, actually state some of those purposes, right? or at least one of her purposes when you mention that she's fulfilling a purpose. Okay? I don't want you to ambiguously drop that and forget to actually tell me what a purpose is, because that's great. It's great that you're thinking about purposes in the first place in and of itself. Okay? Now, Mitchell has succeeded in portraying this fact through a vivid vignette of a real-life scenario. This emphasizes the reality behind her evidence, and her use of emotive language exaggerates her argument further. That is, teenagers aren't just losing hours of sleep, they're sacrificing them. Mitchell, however, also recognizes that statistics aren't enough to give her a piece of credibility that the parental audience desires. Therefore, she varies her tone to replicate the exact internal monologue of the parents who have been positioned as her target audience. This relatability in thought and tone de-antagonizes the reader, thus giving Mitchell the ability to use familiar statements such as, "It's just a phase." Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, look, it's just a phase. What's the whole point of this? Guys, when you quote things, I want us to look into the minute details, right? By using the adverb just, right? Or think about this. By using a minimizing statement, which utilizes the adverb just, right? Um, Mitchell creates grounds to contrast this statement with leverage, right? Something of that nature, because it's not just a phase, right? Or that idea of it's just a phase is highly contentious. It reduces the significance. It's highly reductive. Highly reductive language is a great label for a quote like this, right? For a quote that is so, again, reductive or underplays the issue. Absolutely. Right? This gives her leverage in position. Ah, nice. And allows her to approach the reader with intent to advise without seeming disagreeable. Finally, she channels the tone she has developed into persuading the reader. Okay, guys, every time you have the opportunity, I want you to use as many nominalizations as possible. But now let's think about what a nominalization actually is, everyone. Words ending with shen. So here, I would rather you say she has developed, um, or she channels the tone. You've said what? She channels the tone um, for the sake of persuasion, right? I want you to use words that end with shen. And you don't even need that little section. Those are extra words, right? She portrays her contention as see, contention. You didn't say she contends to. You didn't use the verb contend. You used the noun contention, which is the holistic overall idea and concept at play here. Not trivial concern. Her adamance on the protective emotional aspect of the contention is principal to her success in building a final emotive case. She speaks about technology under the same banner as other addictive substances that parents feel more physically wary of. Wary, yeah, good, that's the right wary. In order to build apprehension through association, presents tech as an addiction capable of comparison with substance use, right? Apparent severity, penultimate paragraph. Let's try our best to stick to Australian English instead of American. I'm guilty of that myself. Short sentences such as there are solutions, and I would label the actual sentence types. That is a simple sentence, right? It's a simple sentence. I want you to use that word for these little short sentences, okay? Parents must set boundaries, right? Finally elucidates her intention, okay? But again, tell me the intention briefly. Don't miss out on the opportunity to tell me her intention briefly. Literary devices consistently used to appeal to the audience's mind, heart, and sense of trust. She builds a distinct tonal quality to her writing that is both authoritative and understanding, which further drives her contention towards reader acceptance. And great for using nominalization on acceptance here, because you didn't use the verb to accept. Great job on using the actual noun nominalization acceptance, right? Words that end in shen, shin, or ence, or, meant, right? These types of words are far more formal and they make your writing sound stronger, everyone. So this is a fantastic case study, but it gets a green from me. Now, just quickly, I mark every piece out of 30. Grammatical consistency, quality of content, articulation, and flow. You should be no lower than 21. You want to be minimum 24. Minimum 21, 24 or more is great. 27 or more is absolutely excellent, okay? Um, Now, a piece like this is a 999. It's so good that even despite all of these phrasing shortcomings and subtle inconsistencies, it has great ideas, fantastic expression. Alvin, you are a very talented writer. Please keep hustling. You're doing really, really well. Um, well done. And guys, when I give you this type of feedback, keep it with you and keep it next to your writing next time you write, so that you actually have a reference point of where you were and what you need to work on, okay? The persuasive piece titled Screens Are Stealing Our Sleep, Laura Mitchell, 3rd of February 2025, asserts that technology has posed significant, widespread health concerns for young people, especially teenagers, due to the loss of sleep resulting from prolonged screen time. Fantastic introductory sentence. Well done. Very comprehensive. I would argue it's slightly, it's only ever so slightly too long. Shortening would be good. Mitchell employs an alarm tone in explaining how Australia is facing a sleep crisis and the culprit is glowing in your hand right now. By utilizing emotively connotated language through the noun crisis and culprit, as well as imagery depicting the root of the issue as glowing in your hand, beautiful. Mitchell identifies a perpetrator to blame for the decline in health faced by young Australians. That is mobile phones. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Who wrote this one? Is this Martin? This builds the foundation. Priscilla, well done. This builds the foundation of urgency. This builds the foundation of urgency of this persuasive piece. Be really careful repeating of. Foundation, I would say this builds a foundation of urgency to supplement the persuasion. There we go. Which strengthens and you don't need that because supplement is strengthen. Additionally, the inclusion of an image illustrating a child lying in bed, accompanied by an illuminated red screen, this really demonstrates devastating consequences. The child is depicted with a distressed, overwhelmed, and exhausted expression, evoking a sense of pity and anxiety among the audience, encouraging parents to feel, okay, I know you're using lots of commas, but these sentences, despite being fantastic, and see, I'm using lots of commas too, should ideally be slightly shorter or chopped in two. Okay. Young people are positioned to feel concern towards their own screen time, negative connotation, imagery, impactful role of tech, but fantastic delivery, fantastic exploration. We're starting with 227s. That's very strong. Very, very strong. So these two are very strong benchmarks for a lot of you. Everybody, look at these pieces. Look how they've navigated these ideas. Well done. All right, next. Mitchell starts off by instilling fear in the audience. Chronic sleep. Okay, give me a word. Give me a connector there. Before you give me the quotation, say with, with. And with highly, with jargonistically impactful language or sentence, right? Why? What's jargon? Jargon is language that is specific to a certain field. Like it's very nuanced, right? And chronic sleep deprivation has been linked to depression, cardiovascular disease, obesity, and impaired learning. This is also used to incorporate logos into the piece, making her argument more credible and factual, making her point more believable. That sounds a bit repetitive. I want you to avoid using making, making twice in the same sentence. And another rule of thumb for all of you guys, everyone listen, lock in for a second. Do not repeat the same word in the same sentence twice. Do not repeat the same word in the same sentence twice. An urgent tone is implemented in the, yeah, through Just give me a connector, like through or with or via. I mean, via is not even a proper word, so don't say that, but something as a connector to display a quote. This immediately hooks the reader and makes the audience more likely to support or act quickly. Support what? Right? Be specific there, right? She then plays on the audience's morals and values. But tell me which morals and values, right? Right? Values of good health, right? Morals of what, morals of like honesty. What are the morals and values? Expand there. Be specific. Everyone always, when you introduce a concept, give me the specifics of that concept. Continues to pressure the readers, evoking responsibility and possible damage to children if her argument is not acted on. Fear is once again instilled in the readers. I need an apostrophe there. Be careful. The snappy behavior and feeling highlights consequences, triggers that motherly and protective instincts, right? Making them feel emotionally involved. Instead of making them feel, I would say from now on, go with eliciting emotional involvement. Now, do you see how involvement ends with ment? That makes it a nominalization, which makes your writing sound more professional. So, guys, consolidate. What have we learned so far this lesson? Tell me in chat. What have we learned so far? Tell me some things we've learned so far. Tell me in chat. And also tell me about our demo that we did at the beginning of the lesson and the writing that we walked through together. What have we learned? I've got nominalization is very important. Nominalization increases formality. Don't repeat the same thing in the same sentence twice. Absolutely. Beautiful. Right? English requires empathy. Absolutely. Don't have sentences that are too long. Absolutely. Right? If it's yes, must introduce an example, then analysis, example analysis, back and forth, back and forth. Absolutely. Well done. Right? Um, and also don't say in theory. She's literally doing it. She's literally doing it. None of this is theoretical. Doing it, right? It's actively in application, not theoretical at all. At all, not one bit, right? So a piece like this, honestly, you have a very strong base. It's an 888, but it needs lots of work. It needs lots and lots of work. I'd even argue it's like an 8-7. I'd say it's an 8, or it's something like an 887.5. Your flow needs to improve these little connector words. But who wrote this? Well done. Um, Next. Let's see. Mitchell employs many techniques in order to enhance her appeals to responsibility and relatability. She states the culprit to Australia's sleep problem is glowing in your hand right now, referring to the audience's devices, attempts to highlight the widespread nature of the issue, characterizing it as a problem that we all contribute to, hold a stake in, making the audience responsible for joining in on maybe Mitchell's cause. Furthermore, Mitchell creates a scenario that is generalized as a common occurrence in all households. Ooh, be really careful using columns. Be really, really careful. Pry away devices from children and seeing the outcomes. Who wrote this? This makes the scenario seem not like commonplace, but commonplace, tending to portray the issue at hand. Okay, my issue is this is a lot of analysis but not enough quotes. And the other thing, everybody lock in. Listen, listen, listen to me. I need you to give me lots of quotes. Don't have an imbalance between volume of analysis and quotes. It should be about 50-50, okay? Do we understand? Are we on the same page? Viana, Safina, Ruthik, Rat, Priscilla, Moraine, Martin, Jerome, Gloria, Arvin, Ario, Arvin, Angie, Lana, do we understand? By likening tech addiction to smoking and liquor, and don't repeat addiction. Do not repeat words in the same sentence twice. Mitchell attempts to darken the tone, indurate the seriousness, plays into slippery slope. The technique is effective. Again, lots and lots and lots of analysis. Give me more quotes. You could have strengthened all of this by sprinkling in more examples and quotes for the same volume of analysis. Remember, it's a value game. You want to get bang for your buck. Bang for your buck matters. If you're going to write this much analysis, at least get it validated and make it worth something by having a plethora of quotations. Does analyzing images have the same role? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And also, guys, I'll give you another absolute ball knowledge tip. Are you ready? Listen, if an argument analysis text has images, the images must be analyzed. Otherwise, you will lose about 30% of your mark instantly. Do you understand? Do you understand? You will lose about 30% of your mark instantly if you don't analyze the image. So a piece like this just doesn't have enough examples. So it scores something like an 878, right? Let's go. Who's next? Bro816. Who wrote this one? Mitchell instills a sense of fear regarding technology by presenting the threat of lost human connection, but not even technology, specifically smartphones. Smartphones and social media accessibility. Social media addiction slash accessibility. Like, I need you guys to be specific, right? Do you see how much more specific this is? Do you understand? By describing the normalized overuse of tech and declaring we are raising a generation that knows the glow of a screen better than the comfort of a bedtime story, the comparison provokes readers to realize the abundance of screen use in today's generation, calling readers to action through the alarm that the loss of connection causes. This is poetic almost what you've written, but I need so much more writing. Use everybody else's writing and my exemplars as inspiration. Well done. It's a great start. Well done. It's a great start. Keep practicing, but I need more. Who wrote this? Well done. Safina, do you write at home? Do you ever practice? Can I ask you to finish this? Can I ask you to write a full argument analysis on this text, like a full essay length, and send it to me on Discord this week, please? Right? Please send me a full version. And guys, also for the rest of you, and Marae, you're new here, but I'm happy to correct as much writing as you send me on Discord. Send me writing. The more of your writing I can see and correct, the better. Please send me your writing. The more you abuse my brain, the more you will win. So I'm not going to give this a mark because I want a lot more writing, but it's a great start. Throughout opinion piece, Laura Mitchell consolidates her position, emotional appeals, fear, collective responsibility. The phrase sleep crisis. Now say this, the negatively connoted phrase sleep crisis, carrying an carrying a tone of a disastrous tone, right? Talk to me about the tone that words carry. Use that type of language. Practice it, guys. Practice your writing. Practice using this type of language. Framing it as an urgent national concern, a statistic 4 in 10 teenagers regularly sacrifice hours of sleep, accompanied by a list of medical diseases, depression, obesity, emphasis on long-term consequences. Mitchell appeals to the reader's concern for health and well-being, the human instinct for self-preservation. Mitchell asserts that unless we act, the future we are creating is one of exhaustion and decline. Action appeals to a collective sense of responsibility. Superintend tech use. Problem is one that demands immediate intervention. You know what? Nice. You've got a great balance of examples and analysis as well, right? Well, not a great, but you've got a decent balance of examples and analysis. And your analysis is strong, really consistent, right? The sense of duty, beautiful. I love that wording. You're very talented. Guiding young people's relationship with technology, absolutely. Who wrote this one? Very high level, right? Really consistent writing. I just wish you had more. I just wish you had more writing. But this is definitely a green. And I don't, it's pretty much flawless. My only issue is the volume. So for me, it's a 10, 9, 10. Oh, but fantastic effort. It's a very, very strong piece. When I don't have much to say, guys, that's a great sign. Um, Mitchell strengthens her argument through the inclusion of open-ended rhetorical questions. The direct interrogative question of will we act now or will we sleepwalk into crisis engages the audience's consequential concerns if a call to action isn't emphasized. What? This is, I know what you're trying to get at. I know what you're trying to say, but it's okay. I was about to say, but it's not giving, but that's what all the TikTok addicted, dopamine fried kids say, right? But it's not quite depicting what you want it to, right? So instead, word it like this. That direct question, we will act now, will we act now or will we sleepwalk into crisis, right? Elicits a cognitive necessity for the audience to feel urgency and worry, right? That's okay. No worries, Vian, right? I would quote it and describe it that way. Mitchell elucidates that this is a collective responsibility for parents, teenagers, and the federal government to regulate tech use. The inclusive language provokes readers to track their personal sleep time and regulate the addictive features of apps. Failure to do so can result in directly sleepwalking into a crisis. Okay, now my issue is this, guys, look at this. In the quote itself, they've got sleepwalk into crisis. In your analysis, don't reuse the quote and its wording, right? There's no need for that because it's actually it, it's actually unoriginal to do that, okay? Um, which prods a sense of duty within the reader. Not a bad word, not a bad phrasing. I love, in fact, that's strong, prodding a sense of duty. Again, strong piece. I just want more volume from you. I want more writing. I want more content. Absolutely. Don't worry. Do what you have to do. And I'll see you on Saturday as well. Um, but I need more content there. So don't reuse the quote itself, but you're doing well. I need more content. This is around the range of a 23. I need more. I need more. Alrighty. Who's next? Lara Mitchell begins her argument by portraying tech as a master of puppets, controlling the thumbs of youth and compelling them to scroll endlessly. She describes this as a form of harmful fun that not only distracts teenagers but also robs them of essential sleep. Mitchell likens tech to cigarettes and alcohol, arguing that unlike substances which cause visible external harm, tech erodes individuals from within, affecting their mental and emotional well-being. She points out that tech was designed to help us contact anyone, anywhere, at any time, yet is increasingly isolating us. This juxtaposition provokes readers to reflect on the intended consequences of constant connectivity. Who wrote this? Laura Mitchell argues that while tech was meant to connect us, it controls the youth, robs them of sleep, and harms them internally. Well done. Now, if this sentence below is your linking sentence at the end of the paragraph, it reads really repetitively, and it's arguably unnecessary. Who wrote this? It's arguably unnecessary, okay? Arguably it's unnecessary. Um, but you have good ideas. You've got one quote, two quote, three quotes. They're nice. Also, use quotation marks, not inverted commas, please. Right? Like this with the double lines. That's also big in itself. Your syntax matters, guys. Your denotation and your notation actually matters, contrary to popular belief, right? And I like your language likens tech to cigarettes and alcohol, right? I just want more. Like, I wish you had more writing, more ideas. This is great so far. It's just really short. And don't give me that repetitive end sentence. It's short, but it's not bad. It's an 898 to 25. Now, out of 30, by the way, of course. Mitchell begins by positioning the readers to the numerous negatives technology has, declaring that devices are robbing us of the very thing we need most. Uh, okay, full stop, guys. If you forget basic grammar stuff, suddenly like 20 to 30% of your mark can disappear on the exam. Remember, you're only getting a mark out of 10 for your essays. Section A, B, and C, 10 marks, 10 marks, 10 marks. Your whole exam, every section is just 10 marks. So a grammatical error in year 12 for someone that's trying to score really highly can be devastating because just 1 mark is 10% gone. And in English, there's 45,000, 48,000 kids you're competing with. So to be in that top 4,000 or so that gets above raw 40, depending on what your goals are, of course, some of you want to get a 25, some of you don't even come to the live lessons and you just want to read the notes time to time. Some of you just want to be a part of my program to send me work throughout the week. But for those of you that are gunning for perfect scores, you cannot be making grammatical errors. You can't be forgetting full stops. You can't be forgetting capital letters at the start of your sentences. No way. While also creating a reputation of devices being a harmful tool. Additionally, the statistic 4 in 10 teenagers regularly sacrifice hours of sleep, followed by viscous chronic sleep deprivation. Depression, cardiovascular disease, obesity, impaired learning, listing the dangerous outcomes, a sense of appeal to fear is stowed upon the readers. This positions the reader to think inwards and intends to make them agree with the urgent change. Mitchell strengthens her position through appeals to logic and authority. The rhetorical question, imagine if we could reclaim even 1 extra hour of rest for every child in Australia. Numerous positive benefits. Younger generation is merely obsessed with tech. Mutual exploits it. Positive benefits, cause and effect. Beautiful. Who wrote this? Who wrote this? I mean, I am surprised and also partly disappointed that your biggest error is a grammatical error with the full stop. But other than that, this might be the best piece I've seen you write. You're actually really improving, Ruthvik. You are seriously improving, right? If you ask me, like honestly, this is so good. You are seriously improving. Well done. Really, really well done. Um, can you send this to me on Discord? Because on the surface, I actually can't find much wrong with it. Numerous negatives, like I would, numerous negatives technology has, but I would say to the numerous harms or malignancies that technology harbors. Right? I would word it like that, a little bit more sophisticated in that sense. But what do you mean by viscous? Viscous or vicious? Because viscous means really thick, right? And for all of you that are keen, can you write a full, guys, all of you, write a full argument analysis on this and send it to me, please. I'd love to read it. I want to see your ideas, how you think, how you write. And is that meant to be vicious or viscous? And also, of course, I want more writing from you. I want more volume. But it's really strong. I don't think it's fair for me to not give you a 999, but you're just scraping into it. It's not a comfortable 999, okay? Now, Laura Mitchell opens her opinion piece. Screens are stealing our sleep. Panic and concern, urgently contending that screen use at night is a national crisis, gathering evidence from the Sleep Health Foundation. 4 in 10 sacrifice hours. Okay. Um, Mitchell establishes credibility, which further intensifies the seriousness of the issue. A motive description, dark circles under their children's eyes, snappy behavior, falling grades, appeals to parental anxieties, encouraging readers to realize obvious signs of harm in their own households. Furthermore, patterns create habits, habits create futures, rhythmic structure. But also remember, this is a heavily slippery slope based argument. That's basically saying phone misuse equals your kid is gonna be homeless. That type of logic that makes you shit yourself as a parent if you're 45 in 2025 reading a Facebook article, for example. Do you get what I'm saying? That's so slippery slope. So use that type of language. Description of everyday life, such as sitting at dinner tables with our faces in blue light instead of laughter. Beautiful. And this appeals to you know, to feelings of loss, right? Losing the beauty and essence of human connection makes us feel anxious because it's because we're wired to be social and fulfilled, but it's forcing us apart. This malignant phone addiction. We probably all have. Who wrote this though? I really like this. Small yet impactful moments that parents are potentially missed, but now notice. Realization to drawn on parents or dawn on parents. Appeal to fear. Constant use of rhetorical questions. Now, beautiful, beautiful. Now, give me some examples of these rhetorical questions. But who wrote this? Generally speaking, it's very strong. It's also a 999. I don't have much to say. I want more writing from you. I'd actually argue it's a 27.5 and it's a 9.5 here. Very strong piece. Row 821. Who was that? Really well done. Well done, Gloria. You've also improved so, so much. Fantastic. Laura Mitchell exacerbates the catastrophic consequences of excessive screen use among teenagers, leading them down a path of sleep deprivation and associated health issues. Her opinion piece begins with the culprit is glowing in your hand right now. The metaphoric imagery provides nuance to their argument, making the description immediate and personal. Her appeal to family and civic responsibility, interpretation of parents trying to prise glowing screen from tired hands, lasting effects of prolonged screen time, vivid imagery, sense of urgency, confronted with overwhelming implications, distressing image of a child. Dissociating asserts Mitchell's contention, realities on their parents involving technologies, right? As readers with children face the realities of incorporating technology into the lives of their children. So it's just a wording issue. Guys, I want you to read your writing back and think, is that the best way it could be worded? Is that the way that a news reporter would say it? Think to yourself. That's another tip. Think to yourself, okay? In my writing, when I read it, does it sound like that of a newsreader slash reporter or a news reporter's script? Does it? If it doesn't, that's a problem. The red illumination on the screen, the red illumination of the screen onto the child's face, coupled with the evening-like background, foregrounds the mental and physical toll. The red glow signifies danger or alarm for the health of the young child, in which now also talk about, guys, this is very important. When they give you photos, talk about the expression on the faces of people in image stimuli. That's very important. That's pivotal. It's pivotal. His face looks distressed. The kid looks like he is worried. Talk about that. Say that, please. I'm begging you. If you don't, you will not score the highest mark. Remember, English is like an Easter egg hunt. It's you have an hour to write this argument analysis, and the student in Victoria that finds the most different things and ideas and explains them with the most nuance and perspective and empathy wins. It's an Easter egg hunt of who can put as many of these Easter eggs into their basket in that hour, right? And not break the Easter eggs while they grab them, but both delicately and efficiently grab all the Easter eggs and arrange them really nicely in this basket. That's your essay. Do you understand? Contact anyone, anywhere at any time. Mitchell's distressing description and imagery of the repercussions prolonged screen time can elicit. Call to invite the audience to rethink their own online consumption. To rethink their own online consumption. To rethink their own online consumption. Nice. Who wrote this? This is really sophisticated, very sophisticated, and lots of focus on the image. You guys are doing really well today. It's a strong day. Like you, we recently started getting to these argument analyses, and you guys were not this good at the beginning. The class average is improving rapidly in argument analysis. It's fantastic. It has some room to grow. Um, there's my biggest issue is the articulation and flow and the fact that the expression of the child's face wasn't discussed. And I need a little bit more. But actually, it's a 28.5 to be honest. It's like a 9.5, 9.5, uh, 9.5. Well done. Well done. And last but not least. In reinforcing her argument of the overt threat devices have over health. Okay, this is poorly worded. It needs to be better worded. Maybe in order to reinforce, Mitchell reinforces her argument, um, reinforces her argument, reinforces her argument surrounding uh, screen time, surrounding the harms of screen time for human health through dot dot dot. That's the way you word that best, okay? That is the way you word that best. Sympathetically appeal towards parents relating to them on a personal level, evident in parents know the struggle. Parents know the struggle of trying to prize glowing screens. I'm not sure if that's a metaphor. That's not a metaphor. Unless you're really playing on the definition of prize. I mean, English, not French. It's not a metaphor. It's not a metaphor. Nothing about it is figurative. It's actually very literal. It is actually very literal to prize slash snatch or take a phone. Nothing is figurative or simile like here. Nothing is an analogy there, right? Slash analogic, right? Analogic, or analogical, right? It ultimately instills relatability, capturing a modern parenting challenge in a vivid and familiar way. Who wrote this? That's nice wording. By listing the pragmatic issues of devices delineating how parents, by listing the pragmatic issues of how devices, pragmatic issues regarding delineation. Look at me using shun. Guys, every time you have the chance to use a word with shun, please do. Issues regarding delineation of parenting when they, or when is, mm, mm, uh, delineation when parents see dark circles. Put it that way. The snappy behavior, this generates this generates a sense of responsibility and urgency to prevent this issue from further damaging the health of their own young children or their young children, right? Make it personal here, right? It is about their own children as well, more than anything, to be honest. Below her initial gambit, image of a child lying in bed, visibly distressed, illuminating a red screen, visual metaphor, damaging effects, red glow, danger, urgency, disruption, evoke sympathy, concern, vulnerability, obviousness. Again, that's not bad. That's a nominalization. Anything that ends with ness is also an nominalization. But you could have said obviation. Obviation is also very strong, right? Hence, Mitchell declares a call to action for parents, revealing detrimental harms that may be serendipitously affecting their own children. Nice. Now, you could have had more quotes, right? This was slightly heavy on the analysis side, not enough quotations. And look, it's a strong piece. It's about a 25-ish. It needs work. Or honestly, it's about a 20. Yeah, it's a 25. It's an 898. It needs work, but it's strong. Who wrote it? 823. Now, I've got a great question here. This is okay. How do I suggest annotating a text? I've been trying to annotate my text, but each chapter takes me more than an hour. So many sticky notes. I'm color coding, setting character relationship traits, all the themes. Is it necessary to annotate everything you notice? Themes, quotes, character development. I'm asking for advice because at this rate, I probably won't finish annotating the whole book, and I'm not even sure if what I'm annotating is helpful. What a fantastic question. Let's go back here and let me say this. I'm actually going to put that there. So, do you want to know a secret? I had friends, or I have friends, who got raw 50 in English and never even read the book that they did their exam on at the end of year 12, right? Don't worry, I don't need to see your annotations. The problem preemptively is that you're wasting so much time on annotation, right? So annotation is never about catching everything, right? Three of each theme is more than enough, right? Or maybe, three quotations of each theme is more than enough. Three quotations from each character or even character trait explored is more than enough, etc. So, one, list out the themes and possible prompts you may get, and pre-write essays strictly for likely prompts, and ensure each paragraph you write has three solid, strong quotations. Okay? Now, don't repeat yourself in your annotations as well. So, we're going to split this into tiers. You can have tier one, tier two, and tier three. Tier one quotes. These are quotes that directly link to the big themes, the huge themes, okay, that you know are accessible. Now, what have you said? You've said it's on Greek mythology, right? So you're going to be thinking about things like mortality, misogyny. Oh, I spelled that terribly wrong. Misogyny. You're going to be thinking about change, power, right? You can't miss these, right? And key turning points in the plot where, you know, character, you know, characters suddenly shifted their values, or fate intervenes even, okay? Then we're going to have tier two. These are literary devices, okay? Imagery, metaphor, imagery and metaphors that tie back to tier one themes, okay? That's going to include, you know, a few contextual notes, okay? But not every historical detail, okay? Only those that you can connect to the above key themes and prompts, okay? Then you're going to have tier three. These are smaller details. These are details that, they might interest you, but don't waste your time on it. Don't, they might interest you, but they probably don't clearly tie back to themes or essay writing, okay? Um, they can be unique, fun, but don't even need to be, don't, but may never be mentioned, okay? Uh, Generally speaking, the end game is this. The end game is if you have enough examples to write five sample essays on the five possible prompts you could be given for that sack on that book, and each essay has different examples that somehow connect to the prompts, right? And think about this, and even examples that actually overlap and manage to connect to like every prompt ever, then you've done the right job, right? So it's about using the examples you have and practicing the art of pivoting them into any and every prompt you could possibly get, okay? Rather than having an example or having 100 examples for any possibility. Does that make sense? Of course, a broad understanding of the book is necessary, but not this minute and obsessive approach. And also, Priscilla, you're going to be doing English language next year anyway, where these skills will come in handy, but you will not be annotating books, I promise you. Beautiful. I'm going to stop the recording there. That's today's lesson.